Well, clashes are intensifying between federal agents and protesters back here at home in Minneapolis. Demonstrators taking to the streets for yet another day, pushing back against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Flashbangs lighting up the skies. Late last night, you can see the protesters there rushing to get away from the smoke and the blinding lights. Newly released video obtained by Bring Me the News also showing agents arresting two workers at a Target in Minnesota. A state lawmaker says both workers are U.S. citizens. The unrest sparked by an ICE agent fatally shooting Renee Good. The government now saying the agent suffered internal bleeding in the incident, but not providing any details on the severity of his injuries. Let's bring in our Faith Abube. She's there in Minneapolis, along with our legal contributor and hostile law professor, James Sample. So, Faith, what are you seeing and hearing on the ground today?
Well, Kara, the clashes between the protesters and ICE agents have been, intensifying the last several days. But at this very moment, things are quiet compared to the videos you were just showing there from last night, where ICE agents and the protesters were clashing at the federal building there. Some of the protesters were so angry they were throwing snowballs and even body slamming some of the ICE agents' vehicles there. But again, things are relatively quiet right now. We just drove by the site of the shooting, and we saw a handful of people there holding vigil for 37-year-old mom Renee Good. Today, of course, is a week since she was shot and killed by that ICE agent. And just in the last 24 hours, there are a number of things that we've been learning. Of course, the internal bleeding that we're hearing from sources that the agent suffered, but also we've learned that several federal prosecutors, at least 6 of them who work out of Minnesota, have now quit the job amid concerns about how DOJ is handling this investigation into the shooting. They feel, according to sources, that the DOJ is focusing more on digging up information on the victim, trying to figure out whether she and her partner had any connections to any individuals or groups that have been protesting or impeding the immigration enforcement operations that are been happening here, instead of focusing on the ICE agent who actually shot and killed her. And so, of course, we're listening to that and seeing what the fallout will be in terms of that. But according to one source who talked to ABC News, this is the U.S. Attorney's Office's equivalent of the Saturday Night Massacre, of course, referencing the Watergate scandal. In just the last few hours, we've gotten a statement from Renee Good's family, actually from the family's attorney. They've hired an attorney, which is the same attorney who represented George Floyd's family. And in a statement, they said, quote, "What happened to Renee is wrong, contrary to established policing practices and procedures, and should have never happened in today's America." Kira.
Well, James, let's talk about this video that we just showed a minute ago, obtained by Bring Me the News, showing the agents that are arresting the two workers outside that Target. Again, a state lawmaker says that both of these men are U.S. citizens. If indeed that is true, is it constitutional for a federal agent right now to walk up to someone and just arrest them like this? Do they have to ask for proof of citizenship first?
Kira, what they have to have is probable cause or a judicial warrant. And assuming, for the sake of argument, that they had neither of those, then the answer to your question is no, it is not constitutional. And an individual is not required, even if they are a U.S. citizen, to identify themselves as a U.S. citizen. It can certainly help to do so if you have that opportunity, but that is absolutely not constitutional. And if you think about the resignations that Faith referenced in the earlier segment there, those resignations are, in a sense, resignations protesting this very kind of activity, because those are federal prosecutors who would be in the role of prosecuting individuals who are seized, who are captured, who are arrested, and who are detained, and who are instead being tasked with tasks like researching the background of the widow of a person who was shot and killed.
Faith Abube, James Sample, appreciate you both. We'll stay on the story.